Hi, I'm John Ostmeyer. This is my Pitts S-1T, and Eric liked me to do a little walk around on it. We'll start up here. Pitts S-1T, what makes a T is the S1, obviously, single-seat airplane. The went through several different stages. It started with an S-1C, which was designed to be flown by a 100-horse Continental engine, C for Continental, flat bottom airfoil, 2 ailerons on the bottom wing only. Not very many, a lot of them were built that way, not very many of them with the Continental. Then in the late 60s, Curtis Pitts designed the S-1S, S for symmetrical, meaning he put symmetrical wings on it to help it fly inverted and around negative corners, push corners a lot better. That airplane had 4 ailerons on it. The final version of the S1 series was the S-1T, which is much like the S-1S. However, they put a bigger motor. It went from a 180 horse fixed pitch prop to a 200 horse with a constant speed propeller on the airplane. When they did that, they also put a pressure cowl on it, put the cowl flap on it. Because of the added weight forward of the firewall, the wings ended up being moved 4 inches further forward. So the cabanes here have a slight, if you look at them real close, a slight tilt. The just real refinements. The dihedral went from 3 to 1.5 degrees. The ailerons went from freeze type to symmetrical airfoils. And the fuselage metal on the fuselage came out just a little bit to ferret into the cowling, and then also the S1S and S1Cs, right from here back was fabric covered. It went one more bay back with a metal aluminum siding, just to for maintenance purposes. Like I said, it's a 200 horse IO360 angle valve engine. I put a whirlwind propeller on it. I changed that from the Hartzell this year. This saved me 10 to 15 pounds. I forget the exact number. It's a hollow core composite prop. Much wider cord, same diameter, but much wider cord. In this, I did lose some top end speed, but the low end performance really made up for the difference. And as we walk around, Pitts airplanes, they get their strength. It's an all wood wing with aluminum tube fuselage, or I'm sorry, steel tube fuselage. So the way a Pitts gets its wing, it's like a bridge. So you have biplanes, you have a box here from the eye strut to the cabane strut, top and bottom wing, and then you cross it, triangles, much like a bridge, with the flying and the landing wires, flying wires, landing wires. And each one of these, each individual wire, one wire will carry the load. We double them up for redundancy in case of a wire breaks, which has happened, but unfortunately not very often and never to me. The Javelin just kind of keeps them from vibrating a whole lot. It does have a stall warning horn in it. Yeah, most of them have been disconnected over the years. As we walk around, you can see the symmetrical ailerons here. A freeze type, you can see there'll be a cut underneath here, and it's hinged at the top, much like a Cessna 152 or 172. That's a freeze type aileron on there. And what guys will do is get in there and add tape along the inside of there. With the symmetrical airfoil, there's not quite as much room to do that, so we don't do that, and it makes a tighter fit in here. So as we come around the slave strut here, so to work the ailerons, there's a stick in there, obviously, and it runs out. It's got a control arm that comes out to about here. Underneath here, there's another idler. It comes out here to a bell crank, and it comes back. If you look under here, it comes out here, and it runs from the stick is actually actuating the bottom aileron. The slave strut here is what connects the top to the bottom aileron, and that makes that aileron do whatever this aileron does. The spades, they call them spades or shovels. Either one is acceptable. Just, I guess, depends on what part of the country. And a lot of people think they make the airplane roll faster. That's not the truth. All they do is lighten the controls. It's like adding power steering. As the spade deflects into the wind, it catches the wind. It helps you move the aileron in the direction you want to go. So that's all it's doing, is lightening the stick forces. They're not really increasing the roll rate. So, and if you're walking around the airplane, and a walk around, you're looking at condition of the fabric. I'll bang the bottom of the wings, listening for anything to rattle or bounce around inside. Anything loose inside an aerobatic airplane will eventually end up in a controls and will jam them. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So no matter what you hear, if you bang on the fuselage, if you bang on the belly, if you bang on and you hear something rattle around, you stop what you're doing right then and there, and you get in the airplane and you find the little screw or the nut or the pin or whatever that is and get that out of the airplane. And then as we further go back, again, we have wires to help hold the stabilizer and trim stabilizer. These are gap seals that I've installed to close the gap between the elevator and the rudder to make them just a little bit more effective. And on the bottom you'll see this strut here to the horizontal. This was not on the early S1Ss, and I don't think the S2As, but I could be wrong. The very first airplanes. This was added on for two reasons. Is during snap rolls, without this strut, that horizontal will move up and down about an inch or so, and it was where in the front of the there's an AD for the front mount of the horizontal, and also this is a common place to push it when you're moving the airplane in and out, and so it was getting some wear and tear from there. So there is an AD out on there to check that. Come around, trim tab here is something you would want to look at. And the security here, back here, these do break eventually, just the way it comes through. I've had two of these break. The wire inside, as it goes through the bound cable, as it goes back through, it just rubs and it'll break eventually. Unfortunately, it's just a wear item. Not real bad, the airplane's just out of pitch, but you have to be careful with flutter, so don't go any faster than the speed you're at now. You'll notice I have clear inspection panels on either side here. This way I can look down and I can visually inspect the belt crank in here. I can make sure that the nut has a safety nut on it, and I can also help me look inside to make sure that there's no debris in the tail. The tail wheel I have on it right now is a Lang. Still fine-tuning the setup on that. That's why there's an extra link there in case I need to add that back later. Yeah, I like it a lot better than the maul that was on it, but I'm still fine-tuning the setup, and that'll eventually come. So further around, underneath here you'll notice right now, this is the breather tube. This is actually an aluminum tube that runs all the way up to the engine, and as the airplane does aerobatics, the oil goes from the sump up to the top of the engine and back down, and there's some stuff under the engine for the inverted oil system. Well, eventually some of that engine oil gets puked out. And so what we do is we run the breather line instead of just sticking right out the bottom of the cowling and getting oil all over the belly. We run that breather line all the way back here, and I just have a water bottle out in there to catch the oil so it doesn't make a mess on the ramp. But you'll notice, if you ever see an aerobatic airplane come back from an aerobatic flight and there's a pool of oil under the tail, don't panic, that's normal. That means he was just having a little bit of fun. Okay, once again coming back around, the canopy, it's actually very simple. There's a tab on either side, you just roll it forward and back. And then from inside I can pull this lever down and it pulls both those tabs. Some people... Alright, so now we're inside the airplane, and I'll just walk you through all the controls. At the very bottom down here, this is a fuel selector. It has a main gallon tank up here, 20 gallons, 19 usable. And then up top in the wing is a 5-gallon ferry tank. You can only get about 3.5 gallons in it. That's good for about 23, 24 minutes in cruise. And then on the side here is an old-fashioned wobble pump. All right, it works in both directions. You can keep the airplane running like that, but you are going to wear yourself out. But that's how you would prime the airplane. That's mostly what that's used for. Mixture control over here. This is the elevator trim, throttle, and this is the propeller control master switch. It used to have a smoke system on it. It's not there anymore, and the switch is still in here. Stall horn, mags. This is the G meter from the last flight. So apparently I was pulling +6 and -3 Gs on my last sequence I flew. Airspeed indicator. Red line of the airplane is 205, 204. Best maneuvering speed is 154. And then you have a compass, and I do have a ball underneath here, but it's an aerobatic airplane. It's rarely in the center. TAC, manifold pressure, fuel pressure, CHT, oil pressure, oil temperature. Over here is a fuel gauge. This gets replaced every year. It does get a little hard, but I can see it's a NSFS fuel gauge, so you know exactly how much gas. It doesn't have to go through a transducer or anything. Alternate airs over here, and then this box here is for my helmet. I have A&R. I just turn that on and it quiets the airplane down, and this is for my GoPro, my remote control for my GoPro. Auxiliary power part, and then there's a little Piper plug there. So Radios down here, comm and a transponder. These switches work that. This is the stall light here, and then a voltmeter down below. As you can see, this is the sequence card. This is a sequence card holder, and you either clip it or I use Velcro. And then this is the last sequence I flew. This is the freestyle that I designed a couple years ago. I've been flying this one for years, and I changed the card out in there to let me know, or depending on which flight I'm flying, which wind direction is going. These are the sequences, red being a inverted or a negatively loaded line, black being a positive G line. The 2x4 means 2 points of a 4-point roll, or in this case, like right here, 4 points of a 2-point roll. So it's 2 complete rolls, stopping every 180 degrees. My little pencil marks here are the altitudes that I want to hit for each and every figure. I don't check it between every figure. I check it probably 3 times throughout there, but that's in case if I have to take a break. I'll break off the sequencer sometimes without thinking, without having to do a lot of memory recall in the heat of the moment. I know exactly what altitude I have to come back in at. There is, if you look down, the floor of the airplane is Lexan. It does have a window in it. I really don't use it for a whole lot. Sometimes when figuring wind drift, I'll fly right over a road and see if the road moves left or right. Other than that, it just tells me when I need to wash the belly. Okay. So again, this is just an air vent. These just move in and out. If you have them in, they rattle a little bit, and if you've been flying all summer with them open, in the fall you close them up, you rattle, you forget for a second, you hear rattling around, and yeah, it's a little unnerving at first, and then you remember what that is. So coming back again, we bang on the bellies, we bang on the bottom of the wings, come around here. Point on the slave strut, if you come around this other side, is you'll notice that there's a bump here. This is a piece of string inside underneath the fabric here. What that does, these are streamlined struts. Originally they were round, but round being the world's most draggy profile, round strut, if you put the same struts on here round, it slows the airplane down 10 miles an hour. So they went to streamlined. Streamlined is an airfoil shape, and what they were getting was flutter. These would bang them back so far they would actually rip them off the airplanes when they first put them on. So we put a piece of string or weld rod or something under here, and that acts as a spoiler and kills a lift on one side, and that's what solves us our flutter problem. All right. One of the other things people always ask about is this. This is a sighting device. You'll see most of the airplanes out here at Grayson County today have these. It's a protractor, it's all it is. So when I want to go straight up, I lay the horizon right here. And I've got it set up right now that if I lay that right on the horizon, not only am I going straight up this way, but I'm also square this way. And then these are the 45s. This, although I don't fly tail slides in competitions, if I'm doing a torque roll or a tail slide, this will let me know at what point I go from forward flight to flying the airplane backwards. And yes, the controls do work backwards, so you have to think a little bit differently when you're going that way. Around the other side is just pretty much the same as the other than we've got a pitot tube. Pitot, the static ports are back here. If you want if you're selling a pits and you want it to go faster, you screw this in, and it creates a low pressure back here. Changes the differential between the positive and the negative a little bit more, and you get a couple more miles an hour. That's how an Eagle's faster than a Pitts.
Hi, I'm Eric Johnston. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe to my channel to enjoy many more aviation videos to come.